You're listening to CKUA Radio. My name is Grant Stovel, and here joining me, a fellow that's on tour through Alberta right now, it's Alain Maklovich,
Correct.
otherwise known as A-Trak. Hey,
Hey.
A-Trak.
How you doing?
Great. Thanks for doing this with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you're on the road playing a bunch of really intimate shows. I mean, you're a guy that's played like giant concert stadiums, and you've played on the Grammy Awards. You've done all kinds of stuff. You're playing in like these really grassroots venues. Is that
exactly.
something that's important to you at this stage in your career?
Yeah, I think it's something that's important to revisit every couple of years. For me, at least, I think DJs can fit in a lot of different kinds of circuits for touring, and certain DJs might only play in nightclubs that have their own regular attendance. But I've always liked to play in concert venues and sell tickets, and I've also always liked to kind of refresh my fan base every few years because my music is always refreshing too, and so I hadn't been to some parts of Canada in a while. I'm from Montreal originally,
Sure.
so I was kicking around this idea even since last year with my agent that we should do some sort of Canadian tour, and it came together for this time period.
That's pretty cool stuff, and I know that you're really committed to the live experience. And I always think it's funny because like I'm a DJ, but
cool.
I'm a DJ that just like presses one button every 3 or 4 minutes on
Correct.
the radio.
Yeah.
And our jobs are pretty different. Like
Yeah.
as a DJ, what you do live is so intense, and yet you're also, as a lot of DJs are, a music producer and really like a creature of the recording studio. So you kind of got both those sides going. Which side really did you get the bug to DJ first when you were
for
real
sure.
young? That
Oh,
was
yeah,
your
yeah,
like
yeah.
first passion?
Yeah, I've been DJing for 20 years. I've been producing for 10 years.
Yeah.
So everything that I do is informed from my DJing originally. Like the DJing is the core of everything, all my activities. So, and I still feel like DJing is what comes to me most naturally. But yeah, like you mentioned, I also produce music and I have a record label.
Fool's Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that too is from the standpoint of a DJ.
Right.
It's a DJ-run label.
And you're almost like DJing compilations for people to enjoy. You're taking the work of other DJs, putting them together, like the new Night Shift compilation.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Is a fabulous, like you're presenting all these great sounds that
Definitely.
are bubbling up around you.
Yeah, Fool's Gold is a label that's pretty active in the presentation of the releases. We're not faceless. Our fan base knows what our taste is and what our standards are, and we try to have a relationship with an audience that can trust us. Because I remember growing up following certain record labels and buying systematically anything that they released because I liked everything they released. I want Fool's Gold to have that standing,
Well, I know that you're a fan of music and like a student of music, and people might be saying, did he say he's been DJing for 20 years? Because
Yeah.
you're just like a young guy, you're in your mid-30s. But you were the youngest ever winner at the DMC World DJ Championships when
Yeah.
you were like 15
When
years
I was
old,
15,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, how early did you start? It's not like, there's a couple of turntables lying in the corner
Right.
of your LC. How did you get started DJing? What made you what was the impetus to make that move?
I simply tried scratching one day.
Was there
And
literally just a turntable lying
It was
around
just
in
my
your
dad's record
family?
player. I
Really?
didn't have a good turntable.
How did he feel about that?
He didn't know for a while, But I think most teens at some point, especially maybe less now, but in the '90s, most teens would try scratching a record at one point because you see it in rap videos and things. It looks so cool, but most people are just discouraged because the needle will skip or it just won't sound like it does on a record. I happened to just figure it out.
Just like that?
Yeah, I just figured it
Wow.
out. So
What was the record? Do you remember the first one you slapped on there?
I'm not sure.
You probably wrecked the record, I'm assuming.
I definitely did. I definitely remember scratching my dad's double LP for Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life.
That's a pretty auspicious beginning to a career. I
Yeah,
think.
but I had some. I was buying some records with like drum break beats and things like that too. I remember scratching some of those, but it started with that. Started with scratching, and the hobby, the passion grew from there. And wanting to kind of crack that code because DJing is essentially self-taught, and now there's DJ schools, but when I started, there weren't any.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there was something about the process of figuring out a craft, that was a little mysterious. Let alone the fact that I couldn't even get into nightclubs myself. So I wasn't even seeing DJs myself firsthand, but I kind of understood what it was and I wanted to figure it out. And 2 years later, I was world champion. So it went fast. Yeah.
I guess all that time spent when you couldn't get in the club, your job probably just
Staying in
hunkered
the
down
basement.
in the woodshed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you were part of this amazing scene in Montreal at that time and busting out all over, all these great DJs and like your brother David and his band Chromeo.
Yeah.
So much great danceable music coming out of that scene. How does being from Montreal, how does that inform your creativity today?
I definitely.
You're based in LA these days.
Yeah,
right?
I'm based in LA just as of recently, and I was in New York for a long time. I definitely credit Montreal for a lot of, I guess, my access to music and culture, and even just a certain open-mindedness. I think, on one hand, Montreal is a city that a lot of artists go through, just from the geography where it is. A lot of music goes through Montreal, and the city itself presents a lot to any curious kid. It's a city that's got a ton of festivals all the time, and great secondhand record shops, and secondhand T-shirt shops, and whatever else. A good graffiti scene, bunch of colleges, so a lot of young kids, good restaurants. There's just a lot of things happening. But also the fact that in comparison to the US, where hip-hop is from, obviously, and I started as a hip-hop DJ. And at a time in the 90s when different coasts and different cities had distinct sounds within the US, I felt like I was able to cherry-pick my influences, being from Canada, being just one step removed, because in scratching there was a New York style, an LA style, a San Francisco style, and I would buy these VHS tapes of the DJ competitions and watch them at home and take a little bit from this guy, a little bit from that guy, and just learn everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that helped a lot.
I've heard that about Canadian comedians because there's so many great Canadian comedians. It's like we're just one step removed. We can kind of see the whole picture, and we're not
you
sort of like.
Yeah, you could say the same thing about skateboarding, by the way. But
for sure.
But I often compare DJing to stand-up comedy.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
it's very similar. The touring circuit's similar, and the touring experience is similar. Even everything from the way that your set is malleable. A stand-up comic will have an intro and a bunch of bits, but if something's working well one night, he'll extend it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. DJs do the same thing. We adapt our sets, and even our relationships to our openers and things like that. So it's very similar.
Right. And you're
It's
just
more
one
similar to
solitary person.
Yeah, exactly. You're a one-man band. It's more similar to stand-up comedians than to any kind of bands or other musicians.
Well, you do so many creative things as this one-man army, in the studio and otherwise. And, there's just so much going on in your music, and you've made music with so many different projects, like your own projects, collaborations with others on your records, with Duck Sauce, and, contributing to some of the really important Kanye West records, of course. For many years, you're playing with his band. And I kind of feel like for you, I don't know if this is how you feel, but I kind of feel like for your music and for Kanye's music, you guys it's almost like you guys kind of brought each other along creatively, because I feel like you both kind of came into your own as creative musicians around the same time, and at that time you were working together. Did you guys kind of help each other out with your creativity?
So, yeah. Technically I was his touring DJ, but the relationship was definitely deeper than that, and we both discovered a lot of I'd say we both sort of expanded our horizons while working together, and there was a lot of bouncing of ideas both ways, for sure.
Well, you've mentioned stand-up comedy and skateboarding and graffiti art. I also want to point out that you're really venturing into the video world these days. You're creating these, or collaborating with filmmakers on these really interesting sort of abstract miniature movies as music videos for your tunes.
Yeah,
is that a real focus for you these days?
I'd say it is, only because it's less so for other artists, maybe. It's not the majority of my work isn't making music videos, but I would say I still give as much importance to the originality and the quality of a video as people did at a time when MTV played music videos. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because
It
videos
feels like
aren't-
a throwback kind of to this quality era of music videos as a storyline kind of thing.
I think so, just because that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
And it's something I enjoy to do. So why not do it? That's kind of how I look at it. I don't put out a ton of music, so whatever I do put out, I try to put a certain amount of thought behind it. So when I put out a single, everything from the artwork to the choice of remixes to the video and any other assets for promo, I try to make sure that they're up to a certain standard, even just for my own enjoyment. I've having a career that spans this long, I also understand, the importance of being able to look back at something you did 5 years ago and say, hey, that was cool. And sometimes there's one of those things doesn't even really hit much. People might not notice everything that I put out as much. But as long as I'm able to look back and be proud of what the product was, it's still cool to me. Because I can't guess or anticipate that much which songs will break more than others. So I just make my best effort for all of them, and whatever works, works. That's kind of how I look at it.
That's what they call a legacy, my friend.
Trying.
All right, well, A-Trak, I'll let you get back to like your touring and you're running a record label and you're creating original music. And thank you so much once again for doing this with
Thanks
us.
for having me.
All right, that's A-Trak here
Cool.
on CKUA. All right.